Cross and Crucifix. I see crosses everywhere, on gravestones in cemeteries, on church towers, beside altars, on chests, on ears, on stone walls. So many crosses. Christ was crucified on the cross. The cross has been implicitly considered a symbol of Christianity. Wherever one sees the cross, one immediately thinks that there is Christianity. So, can we say that wherever there is a cross, there is Christ? I don't think so. While Christ was crucified, there was already a cross. The Romans used the cross to condemn criminals to death. Now, wherever there is a cross, there is death. People are afraid of the cross. The shadow of the cross is death. Wherever there is a cross, there is weeping. Therefore, if we say that wherever there is a cross, there is God, then that way of speaking is very vague. Today, if we say that wherever there is a shadow of the cross, there are footprints of Christians, it may be correct. But how can we dare to affirm that wherever there are Christians, there is the presence of God? People can use the cross to fight. Haven't there been parishes that lost peace just because they built churches? It's not true that the presence of the cross means the presence of God. Symbols and idols. What I see today, the cross on the high bell tower, the cross on the altar in my house, the cross at the church gate, are often meaningless. I am so familiar with symbols that symbols can become idols. When I take it for granted that wherever there is a cross, there is God, I can only try to build more crosses. This can easily lead to a dangerous pit. Symbols always have two characteristics. The first characteristic of a symbol is that it needs to be seen. Therefore, a cross can be made of cement, stone, bronze, or gold. The second characteristic is that the symbol must represent an invisible reality behind it. This is difficult, not simple. An absent reality can be expressed by a symbol. But not every symbol has an absent reality. And even more tragically, people can deceive with symbols. Sending a flower is sending a symbol to translate an invisible feeling. That symbol is only meaningful when there is love behind it. So there must be love first. How many times does the person giving the flower not give love? How many times does the person receiving the flower mistakenly give a heart because they think there is love behind the petal? The same is true of the cross. The cross is a symbol, so I have to find the reality behind the symbol. If I call the cross a symbol of God's presence, but there is really no God, then loving that symbol becomes holding on to an idol. We are so used to the mindset that the cross is a symbol of God's presence that we rarely ask ourselves what we are holding on to if there is no God's presence. If it is no longer a symbol of God's presence, if it is not an idol, then what do we call it? The reason the high priests gave for condemning Jesus was because Christ claimed to be the Son of God. According to them, Christ blasphemed because he offended God, and they had to protect God. Mark 14. It was in the act of defending God, in God's name, that they condemned God. It was in the act of blaspheming Christ that they blasphemed. The difficulty was there. Being too close to God made God seem very far away. The more they expected a God who was far away, but he was near, the further that distance became. Therefore, those who held the cross were symbols, but were not sure of the presence of God. But they insisted on believing that they were holding God. So how could they recognize that distance? So they thought they were very close to God, but were actually very far away. From symbol to idol, they thought very far away, but they were too close. From the cross to the cross. 3 crosses were erected that afternoon. Christ was between 2 sinners. Of the 3 crosses, only the middle one is the Holy Cross. When Christ died on the cross, he entered the resurrection. Then that miserable cross became a tree of salvation and became holy. That holy substance is love, suffering, death, and glory. Without love, the cross is not the Holy Cross. Looking back at the shores that the cross and the Holy Cross have passed, we see that when the cross becomes the Holy Cross, it does not mean that at a glance we can recognize the Holy Cross. There is still a huge difference. The story of the 2 thieves crucified with the Lord proves this. One of them insulted the Lord. "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." The other said, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence? We are suffering justly, for we are getting the due reward for our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said to Jesus, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus said to him, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Luke 23. One person sees the cross as the cross. Another person sees the cross as just the cross. Distinguishing between the cross and the cross is not simple. It is even more difficult when we are too familiar with the symbol in a blind mind. If we cannot recognize the cross before the real cross, how difficult is the problem before the fake cross?